wake up, but do that? Is this even real? Only thing that kept my heart beating.
What's up guys, and welcome to my channel Flame with a 4. In this video we're going to show you how to paint and fit some side skirts for Mk5 Golf. Mine's a 5-door version and these are GTI look-alike side skirt. Looks very nice. The first step, we're going to need to prepare the side skirt. So they come primed in a grey primer. You need to wet flat them with a 1500 grit sandpaper, or you can use grey scotch. Either one is good and will get the same effect. Now moving on to step 2, you just need to grab yourself some panel wipe, get some blue roll or some rag and then wipe that down. Once you're finished doing that and it's all dry, go over it with some tack rag and then you're ready to move on to step 3. Now that we're on to step 3, what you need to do is you're going to get yourself some plastic primer. You can use plastic grey primer, I find is best with this. Plastic primer is good because obviously if it flexes, that's really good for you to be able to, you know, sort of like move it about and then not crack the paint. What you need to do is when you're painting with an aerosol can, or if you're using the spray gun, always start with the edges, lightly dust it on. Once you've done round the edges, you just kind of need to do backwards and forward strokes, keeping it even, but don't add on too much. Keep a 30 to 40 centimeter gap between it, because if it gets on there too much, then what will happen is it will just run everywhere, and we don't want that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to speed this up a little bit, and I'm going to let you guys enjoy this with a little bit of music. So here you go.
I just wanna see the stars.
Okay guys, now we're going to move on to step 5. Step 5 is going to be the base coat. You might need to use the spray gun for this, because if you want a really even coat and you want it to look good, then I would recommend using the spray gun. I do have a video on how to set it all up if you need to look at that, and I will leave a link for that in the description. Right, so again, the same as the primer, what you need to do is start with the edges, sort of like layering it on, do a little dust coat, and then obviously once you've gone around the edges and you've covered it all, what you will need to do is just obviously give it a good heavy coat afterwards. As you can see, the technique that I'm using here, I just kind of like go through the edges, making sure that everything is covered. Doing outside is a little bit risky to get stuff in it, but what I tend to do once the top coat is on the clear coat afterwards, then it's really sort of like get it inside so it doesn't gather any more dust and stuff. If you have access to a booth, then obviously that will be a lot easier. Right, so as you can see, the technique I'm using here is called wet on wet. So once the primer is finished, instead of flattening the primer or sanding it down or using any grey scotch, what I do is wait for it to be touch dry so that it's nice and dry, and then you can just literally just go over it with this base coat like I'm doing now, and giving it the finish that you can see it has now. So even though it's outside guys, you can see that it's obviously a really good finish. There's no orange peel and it looks great. So let's move on to the next step. Okay, so moving on to step 6 on this process, this is called the clear coat. So the final coat that's going to go on to finish off and seal this paintwork into place. The first thing you need to do is kind of blow it all off with just air. So you can make the gun just produce air, which blows off any dust that you may have on there. You want to start with the edges exactly the same as you did when you were doing the base coat. So the base coat is obviously the colour. Once you've done that, you just need to follow the same process. It kind of lay it on a little bit thicker than you would do, because obviously this covers a lot of the side skirt, and you know, it sort of like protects it really well. So obviously this is what you want on thick, because you'll be able to polish it and dust it out. Try to use an even flow, exactly the same as we did on the other one. Try to keep 30 to 40 centimeters away from it. It does look like I'm quite close, but really I'm not. When you get the dust coat down, what you want to do is you tend to want to kind of pull the trigger a bit harder, lay it on thicker, but be careful not to get any runs. If the temperature outside is too moist, it will go milky, so make sure that the temperature is perfect. Make sure there's no moisture in the air. And once you have finished spraying them, you need to get them inside straight away if you are painting outside. You can get a gazebo or something with sides, but remember it's going to be very dusty. Make sure you wear a spray mask all the time, every time you do anything like this, and gloves if you can. Right, now that they're all painted, we're going to move on to the next steps. Moving on to step 7, now that it's all dry, leave it for a day or two. What you need to do is offer it up to the car. So offering up to the car is basically making sure that it fits. You should do this really before you paint it and everything, which I did do, but make sure that you guys do that as well. So offering up to the car, make sure there's no kinks, make sure that it's level, and if you need to, mask and tape it into place, because that will keep it nice and secure. And put a screw in the end, so that obviously if you have it up on a ramp, it's going to be easier for you. You can jack it up and do it on the floor, but it's just going to be more difficult. Once you've offered it up and you're happy with the position, you need to prepare to fit it. Right, so fitting it, guys, is step 8. You need to use degreaser, which is panel wipe, and you need to go over and make sure there's no dirt and no residue at all. Because if there's anything on here, this is not going to stick very well when you come to putting it on. You can use blockers underneath, which you can get from VW, but I didn't use it in this video. Right, so moving on to step 9, you need to take off this protective film. If you get the same side skirt as I did, you will find that you will have this like sticky part at the top, which is really good. It actually holds it on well. Just remove that and then get ready to put it on. To help it stick, I use some Tiger Seal. Tiger Seal is very strong, it will not come off with that. And just make sure you put some just underneath that tape, just along the top edge, all the way down to the bottom. Once you've got this side skirt into place, just secure it at this end with the screw. Make sure that obviously none of the glue splodges out, because you don't want to have that. If it does, you can use some panel wipe to wipe away any of the excess. Once that's done, just put the screw in underneath. There's a screw in that top corner there. Obviously, if you do have the blocks, you can secure the blocks in, which you'll see where they are missing in a moment. Make sure it's all flush underneath. At this point, you can move it about and get it in place. If you're not too sure, use some tape, use some masking tape. Make sure it doesn't pull off any of the paint. So make sure you use a nice, a decent sort of masking tape. And there you have it. That's really it, guys. It's as simple as that. As long as you've got the equipment and you've got the ability to do it, then I would recommend doing it. It's a very good look to the car. Not trying to make it look like something it's not, just trying to make it look good and fresh. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and we'll finish off with a little bit of music and see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.
Can't help but to wonder, is this you?